Hey YouTubers, how's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for stopping by. My name is JC, and if you're new here, this is the Cuban Redneck DIY channel where we do cooking and grilling on Tuesdays and DIY stuff on Fridays. I have to apologize. I know I haven't been keeping up with the DIY schedule, but there always seems to be some kind of shenanigans going on Fridays, keeping me from meeting my schedule. This particular Friday, or weekend I should say, we were out in Punta Gorda helping some friends compete at the Redneck Mug Park event. I don't know, there was 50,000 people out there. For what I understand, there was zero media coverage. Kind of understandable. There were quite a few Confederate flags flying around, but there were also a lot of black people, a lot of Asians, a lot of Hispanics in attendance, and way too many Let's Go Brandon t-shirts and flags. Some PG-13, some not. And, that goes against the message that the Democrat Party is trying to convey. And since the mainstream media works for the Democrat Party, that's just not good publicity. So I understand why there was no coverage. With that said, let's talk about today's video, which is actually a follow-up to a video I did a little while ago. That video was labeled Shrimp Creole or Enchilada Camarones, Camarones Enchilado, whichever way you want to say it. In the video, I mentioned that once you master the sofrito from the enchilado, you can change the protein to crawfish, fish, lobster, chicken, and you can have the same dish in many different ways. There was a lot of demand, a lot of requests for the chicken version of it. I don't have any chicken. I'm gonna owe you that one, but I'll have it for you probably in a few days. But I do have some fresh fish, and I want to do the fish version of that. I guess we can call this a fish creole or enchilado de pescado, pescado enchilado. Not to be mentioned with aporreado de pescado, which a lot of people call this dish. In my opinion, the aporreado de pescado, and I do make that, but I do not sell it as a main dish, a main course. I usually have that on toast as an appetizer for drinking and things like that. But, if you see that dish, the way a lot of YouTubers make it, that is actually a recipe gone bad. I mean, the fish is all broken up and I don't know. So if that's of interest, I can make that. But as I said, that will be as an appetizer, not as a main dish. Today, we're going to make a fish creole or enchilado de pescado or pescado enchilado, whichever way. Anyway, this is a very simple dish. You can get done in 15-20 minutes. And once again, it's just more practice on getting the sauce right. And once you get that sauce on point, you can make anything with it. Check this out. Believe it or not, one of the biggest issues that I had publishing this recipe was the title. I'm trying to speak to a broad audience, and I know that my Cuban followers have no issues with the name Enchilado de Pescado. But on the same note, my Dominicans and Puerto Rican friends call this Pescado Guisado or Guisado de Pescado. Now, when it comes to my English-speaking followers, for me the translation is fish creole. However, in English-speaking Caribbean places like Jamaica and Trinidad, this is called stew fish. It is important to point out that that particular recipe is almost always done with kingfish steaks. So, further research revealed that in New Orleans it is customary to add crawfish and even crab, and more often than not it is labeled seafood or fish creole. But when I sent some pics to my friend Crist, who is a chef in New Orleans, he said, nah, that's a stew fish recipe, not really a fish creole. So I am sorry for that, and I guess from here forward we'll call this a stew fish recipe. Okay, so to make this stew fish recipe we're going to need about a pound and a half of fish. I'm using whitening, but any type of fish will work, including tilapia, a half an onion, 3/4 of a bell pepper. I'm using multicolor, roughly about 1/3 of each color, but any one color will do, 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, 1 teaspoon of salt, black pepper, cumin, as well as 1 tablespoon of sugar. I'm adding a half a can of diced tomatoes. I'm using the Hunt fire roaster type, but any one type will do. 1 cup of tomato sauce, 1 cup of beer, a pinch of paprika for seasoning our fish, some butter, some oil, a pinch of hot sauce or Scotch bonnet pepper. That is up to taste and completely optional. We're gonna start by resting our fish on a rack, not a plate. We're then gonna season it with salt, black pepper, and a little bit of paprika. We're gonna let it rest for about 5 minutes on the rack. That will allow the salt to draw any excess water out of the fish. We're then gonna place the fish on an oven-safe skillet. This one is obviously a little bit too small, but it will do. Also know that a cookie sheet or even a baking dish will work. On a separate skillet, we're gonna go ahead and melt some butter. We're gonna season this butter with a little bit of garlic. Once the butter and the garlic has cooked for about a minute or two, we're gonna pour it over the fish. Use a barbecue brush to make sure there is no garlic on top of the fish. Also make sure to paint the entire surface with butter. About a tablespoon should do the trick. We're gonna go ahead and add a little bit more butter and oil to the skillet. Once hot, add the diced bell peppers and onion. A lot of times, many chefs would julienne the peppers and the onions, but I think that for stewed fish, diced is better. We're gonna cook this for about 4 to 5 minutes until everything starts to soften up. At which time we're gonna add our cumin, some black pepper, and salt. Continue stirring. As the mixture starts to dry up, we're gonna go ahead and add the garlic. Cook that for a minute or so. Then add the tomatoes, followed by the tomato sauce, and then the beer. Our stewed fish sauce is starting to come together. At this point, we need to put our fish in the oven. We're gonna broil it for 5 to 6 minutes or until we get a little bit of color on the top. In the meantime, we need to continue stirring the sauce. Check for salt and pepper, and if everything is okay, we need to add some sugar. 6 minutes later, our fish is done. But before we add it to the sauce, I'm going to add a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. This is 100% optional, but after tasting the sauce, I felt the taste profile was a little bit monotone. I'm going to follow this with a tablespoon of hot sauce. And now we can go ahead and add the fish. If you find that the sauce is too dry, you can go ahead and add a little bit more beer. Make sure the fish is submerged in the sauce, cover it, and cook for another 5 minutes. My friends, thank you for watching. My name is JC and this is the Cuban Redneck DIY channel. I hope you tried this stewed fish recipe, which I am serving today with malangas leña and ripe sweet plantains. Please support this channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. Thank you.